I start at the beginning, people's origin stories. Tell me about yourself. Where were you born and raised?
So I was born in Kirkland, Evergreen Hospital, and it's a Christmas baby, December 23rd. And grew up in Granite Falls, Washington. It's a pretty good childhood, nothing to really gripe about. Parents got divorced when I was like 8 or 9. And so then I was like 2 weeks at my mom's, 2 weeks at my dad's for a while. And then my dad remarried, and stepmom had 3 daughters. So then I got 3 sisters at I was 14 or something.
Are they younger, older?
Yeah, all older. So my brother, he's 5 years and 5 days older than me. My brother Aiden. And then there's Alyssa, who's the oldest of them. She's almost a year younger than my brother. And then Brittany's the middle of the girls, and then Chelsea's the youngest. She's a year older than me or so, a little bit. I was good in school, till about high school. And then my dad had this rule that I couldn't play sports if I didn't have a 3.0. Didn't have a 3.0.
Mine was I could not skateboard, which I loved.
Mm-hmm.
I loved skating in high school.
Yep.
If I got a C- or below on my report card, I couldn't skate to the next report card.
Yep. Yep.
that was my, which was terrible.
Yeah. And it sucked for me too, because I didn't get the next report card deal. If I couldn't make the grades to play baseball, I'm not playing that season.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that happened. And then I started doing other things. I wasn't taking my time up with sports or school or nothing. I was hanging out with older kids and, started my path onto what I'm doing, which isn't anything great.
Let's talk about that. So you're, in high school, it's what is the age? 15 to 17, 18, 14 to 17 or something?
Yeah.
Just pretty young. Mm-hmm. And it's just this social thing happening.
For sure.
And people experiment, right? And so,
yeah.
And we're curious.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
I'd see my older brother kind of go through it too, So I kind of had him to, he didn't really guide me too much, but he had a little bit,
Yeah.
But being the youngest, I didn't get away with anything. My brother got away with everything. I didn't. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. Didn't have a bad time in high school. I had a good time actually. Had a lot of friends and stuff. I just started doing drugs,
Yeah.
Led me down the wrong path.
Yeah. And I was talking to Jenna, your partner, about defining drugs. There's a lot of legal drugs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of illegal drugs. And as people, we do all kinds of things to cope.
Yeah.
Right? And tell me about your path to what drugs, legal or illegal, and where did it lead you?
The gray area.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's kind of a general thing to say I'm on drugs, There's definitely worse ones.
Yeah,
there's
different consequences. One
Absolutely.
being death, which is a big one.
Yeah.
Huge one.
Yeah, especially now.
Alcohol, a lot of
Yep.
death and, et
Yeah,
cetera.
my stepdad actually, he just passed.
Oh, yeah.
And my mom, just shortly before him, he died the day after my birthday.
Oh, wow.
But he was a heavy drinker, super hardcore, but super successful. He went to MIT. He got a degree in what was it? Aerospace engineering and then aeronautics or something like that. And then worked at Boeing his whole life. And he did great for himself, but he was a hardcore alcoholic.
Yeah, functioning alcohol,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely. But that's what inevitably did, I'm pretty sure, killed him,
How old were you when he passed then?
Oh, this is just this year.
Oh, just this year? Oh man, sorry for your loss.
Yeah, it's just last December.
Oh wow.
Yep. And now there's a whole thing going on with my whole family and my mom dying, her estate, Charlie dying, his estate, all that stuff. So.
And your mom died when you were how old?
So the same year, just a few
very
months,
recently.
I'm trying to think. I can't remember the exact date she died. I've been so messed up since then. That's fucked up. I can't remember the day.
That's okay.
But it wasn't too long, after that Charlie died. So less than a year for sure.
Wow.
And it fucked me up, man. I was really close to my mom, and never coped with it really. Just do drugs, that doesn't really help. And so anyway, with the whole, I moved back in with Charlie, and I lived there, over the years, over the past like 20 years, I'd be there frequently. I stayed there, moved there when I was like 15, 16, because I was getting in trouble in Granite Falls. And then, so I moved to West Seattle, went to South Seattle Community College, got my GED, and then started working, it was pretty normal. Still doing drugs pretty much the whole time, and opiates, obviously, and that's kind of crazy I lasted that long, because it's just this past like 5 years that I've just kind of just drifted off, I'm not even sure why, but I had a job, for as long as I was able to work, making pizza mostly, like 10 years. But anyway, back to Charlie and all that. Like me and Jenna had broken up. It was a little over 8 or 9 months ago, and I moved back into with Charlie to take care of him because he was messed up, drinking so much. He just retired the year prior.
Gotcha.
So he went from drinking beer to hard alcohol. He could put away a half gallon, dude. It was crazy. And so when I moved back in with him, I was drinking with him too, and we would just cry every night, and it was rough. And so day after Thanksgiving, I left. I took some time for myself or whatever. Actually was able to find a little bit of work with a friend. And when he passed, I didn't get to hear about it for 5 days.
Oh, wow.
My brother didn't tell me. Charlie had texted me and asked me to come help him out, like 2 days, I think, before he died, if I'm not mistaken. And so he passes away. My brother, he called in a welfare check, right, to see if he was okay. He wasn't. He was dead. So he didn't tell me for 5 days. He went to the house. He's never lived there. I lived there. He went to the house, changed all the locks, and I was still living there at this time. Changed all the locks, put cameras up, took everything out of the safes. All of Charlie's guns are gone. He had quite a few guns. There was an $8,000 Rolex sitting right next to his computer, gone. Just the house got ran through. And it's like, what the I was supposed to meet them at the house a couple times. I didn't show up because I was so messed up about everything. So once I heard he died, I just like fell apart.
Yeah.
Because they're, my family. And so I go on my own accord. I decided to go to the house. He told me that the locks were changed. And I figured, okay, whatever. Maybe my key will still work for the back door or something, because I just got the balls to go. Didn't work. Cops came because they saw me, trying to get in. And I showed them my ID. I had the address on there. And so they're like, okay, whatever. I told them the story about what, them dying and everything. And so they left. And then I made my way into the house because obviously I lived there for most of my life. And
you know how to get in.
I knew how to get in, yeah. And so there's a camera in the living room. And I was like, that's got to be fake. Like, why would they need a camera in the living room? And then the cops are pounding on both doors. And I'm like, what the hell? And so I go talk to them again, and they said my uncle had called them and said someone was burglarizing the home. And so, anyway, long story short, my family shows up, tells me I need to leave. I'm telling them I don't have anywhere else to live. Like, I was living here. Like, past 3 weeks I was living with my friend, basically, working with him here and there. But I can't live with him. This is where I was living. And they didn't care at all. And, yeah, they just told me that I couldn't stay there. Like, even the night. I was like, I just need to stay here a couple nights so I can figure something out, Nope. They were hell-bent on trying to make me leave. And this is my family. Like,
what does that feel like?
It's rough, bro. Like, it's fucked up, to say the least. I don't even know how I feel, really. Like, I don't know how to deal with it. Like, I feel like I'm just being, like, shunned out of my, like, it's fucked up, bro. I don't know what to say about it. It's my brother of all things too. Like, it really tore me up to. I was like, and it was cold. It's like, it's December. It's cold. I was like, it's cold outside, dude. I have nowhere to go. This is where I was living. What do you want me to do? He's like, I don't know. Like, you can go to a shelter. You can go find a shelter somewhere. I was like, this is my shelter, bro. This is my home. And so I refused to leave. And they couldn't make me leave. They couldn't call the cops to make me leave. And
because it's like your residence.
Yeah, it's on my ID. It's been on my ID for like the past 20 plus years.
So by law, legally you had the right to stay, but your family is trying to get you out.
Yeah, and it's family that never, like, my brother never lived there. He stayed with me. He moved out when he was 18, and he never stayed with my mom and Charlie. And my aunt and uncle, that's my mom's sister and her husband. And so they're just acting like I have no right to be there, basically. And it's like just a mind fuck, because they're sitting there trying to tell me that I wasn't living there, telling me they filed at the courthouse that I had moved out and hadn't stayed there in a month. For some reason, I think that's important for them to have more control of the house, because he's telling me he had filed for custodianship over the house. So it's just a whole fucking thing, dude.
It's a mess, right?
It's a mess. And
Which
I watched.
Is still going. It's still present.
Yeah, it's
right?
still present right now. Yeah. So they wanted to go ahead with my mother's estate, right? And my brother said, "Hey, we'll let Heather, his wife, do the paperwork for it and file for everything. You don't have to worry about it. You know, we'll deal with it, and then we'll split everything up. No big deal." I know what my mom had, you know, money-wise, liquid-wise. She didn't have much, you know. Charlie, on the other hand, had quite a bit, and there's a lot involving that. Like, his parents just passed the past couple years ago, and there's a lot to deal with there. And so I told him I was okay with my mom's estate, her doing it, but Charlie's, I'm not. I was like, me and you can deal with it, or we can find a lawyer that can help us, like, mitigate it, whatever. And he was just like, no, like, I don't want to do it, blah, 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 trying to say that my Uncle Mike should do it, which is wrong in my mind. You wouldn't want a family member to be handling an estate, like, to be the personal representative for, like, another family member's estate. It just seems like unethical in a way. Like, you'd have a bit of a, what's the word? Like a
conflict of interest
happening
here.
Yeah, absolutely. Some feeling somewhere in there.
Remind me. So Charlie was your stepdad, and he was with your mom, living with your mom at the time, and your mom passed away.
Yeah.
And then Charlie passed away.
Yep.
And there's three stepsisters within that family.
Yep.
And 2 brothers.
Yeah, me and my brother.
You and your brother.
So the stepsisters. Yep, you got it right.
Right. So. Yeah, and it's
a lot. I'm sorry.
No. I think I got it right. But
yeah, you did.
My point is this: when anyone passes away and there's like money or real estate, and there's family, it is a mess.
It really is.
And people come out. Anyone who's watching this will tell you like that it's a formula or a cocktail that is just.
It's so bad.
It gets gnarly,
yeah.
And people start, like you said, all of a sudden stuff's missing.
Yeah.
I want this, and it's just a mess.
And when I ask about it, they're like, "Why are you worried about it?" I was like, "What do you mean?"
But I think the good news is, like, you have rights in there too.
Yeah, I do. But it's like it's such a weird, like, I feel I don't know what to think of or what to do. Like, I need to go get a lawyer. I know that. I have to, or else I'm just going to be letting them do whatever they want.
Which costs money.
Yep.
And in your current situation,
yeah,
it's just like,
how
do you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm curious, that night, where did you left?
I stayed.
Oh, you did
So
stay.
I told them originally, because they were like hell-bent on making me leave. I was like, if you really want me to leave, I'm the problem here. Put me up in a hotel somewhere. It doesn't have to be for long. Just put me up in a hotel somewhere. I was just curious what they'd say. I wasn't actually going to let them do that. They all said no. And my brother, like, got angry about it. And I was like, oh, so you're like, you can't pay for it because you don't have money, huh? So, because he was just, like, being so rude to me about me not working, being, you know, they don't know, you know, what's left from right in my life. They haven't talked to me in 10 years. My and my uncle. My brother knows a little from what he hears from my dad. They don't really know. And so they're just making assumptions based on how I look. And I'm sure I smelled like I was a homeless person, you know, like, because I was on the street. And, well, sort of, in a way.
Yeah.
At that point, I was just grungy.
Or like couch surfing.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean. And now I'm on the street, but
yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, they're telling me to leave. I say the hotel thing. They're all like, no. I'm like, oh, so you don't have money, so you're like you're scrounging for money, so you're being kind of greedy right now. You're trying to be greedy over the situation right now, like trying to like kind of feel his temperature with that. And it was just so ugly to see him in that way. Like, I've never seen my brother like be like that. He didn't seem like my brother anymore. Because my brother that I know, he would never be like, Connor, I want you to get the fuck out of this house because, sorry for the language, because I filed for custodianship through the state and it's my obligation to make sure that this house is in the same manner that it was when Charlie died. That's what he said it needed to be. but he's already taken a bunch of things out of the house. So what are you saying, really? And so it's just, my brother that I know would never tell me, go be on the street in the cold. I know you have nowhere to go. Go find a shelter somewhere, whatever. Go sleep with the other homeless people somewhere. I don't care. But you can't stay here. Even though you lived here for many years. Many years. Till I was about 20, I believe I lived there. And then that's when I got my first apartment. And it's just crazy to me. And I watched Jenna had the same kind of thing happen with her mom. And it totally destroyed her family. She is like, doesn't talk to any of her family really except for her grandma and grandpa because her stepdad took everything. And her mom was wealthy. Like millions of dollars, and her stepdad took it all.
Yeah.
And I watched it just destroy a whole family. And I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't see this ending well in any way. You know?
Well, let's talk about your current situation then. After you got out of the house, you stayed there for a little bit.
Yeah, so I just stayed the night. Yeah, I literally just stayed the night. And I told him that. So at first I said I'd leave that night, and then my aunt, uncle, and my cousin left. And then my brother stayed. I didn't know he stayed. I went and took a nap. And woke up in the morning, I believe, yeah. And, or no, it was like super late night. Yeah, super late night morning, and he was still there. And me and him got in a big argument because he was still expecting me to leave because I said I was going to. On my own accord. I was like, I'm not going to leave if you guys stand here in front of me and tell me to leave this house, what I've lived in my past and all that. It's insulting to me. I'm not going to leave while you're standing there telling me to leave. I'll leave when I want to leave, when I'm ready to leave. And so anyway, my brother's still there, and he's telling me, you got to go. You still got to go. He's like, I can't let you stay here. He would not budge. We argued for a good, I feel like an hour at least about this, like over and over, just in circles. I was like, I'm not leaving, dude. I got nowhere to go. Because at that point, I just woke up in my bed. I'm like, I'm not leaving this again. Like, why should I leave this? I'm already sleeping in my room. It says Connor on the wall. I was just in here. All my stuff's in here. And like, why would I get up and leave here just because it makes you feel better about your custodianship to the house? Which is total bullshit. My real brother wouldn't give a fuck about a law or just a rule through the state for him to look out for a family member's home. He would be like, no, it's cool. I won't say anything. Just sleep in your bed, dude. Your bed's already in there. Your stuff's already in there, right? Yeah. It's your room. Just stay in there.
That's what I mean. It brings out this side of people that you didn't know existed.
Yeah. He's like a different person. I don't even know. It's crazy to me. And my dad, he's great. I love my dad, and I feel bad that I'm not closer to him, and it's my own fault. It's my own fault I'm not closer to most of my family, but I'm not bringing my problems around them either. That's the way I see it. I've always just kind of, suffered in silence, just kind of not trying to put my problems on others, and it's not really the way to go. Like, you got to ask for help. And so anyway, I called my dad up before I went to the house, or before they said they were on their way to come to the house, and he's like, I'm Switzerland, I don't have any stake in this. I'm not gaining anything out of this. All I could say is that just try to be calm. Don't freak out. It's going to feel like they're all against you, but just don't feed into that. Just let them know you're there to help and that you're there to, just deal with everything going on. And that was the best advice kid gave me. I love my dad for that. And I tried to, and I did for the most part. But I was drinking wine, wearing Charlie's 50-year-old leather jacket, and I probably looked strange to them. Whatever. But they got me to a point where I was just out of my mind, screaming at them did you ever live here? No. Did you live here? No. Did you? No, none of you lived here. I did for several years of my life. My later end of my childhood, my fucking, tail end of my youth, I lived here. And Charlie, helped raise me in a big way. And, it's just crazy to me, them sitting there telling me, you weren't living here. You didn't live here. That's not what your mom told us. Just trying to basically mindfuck me into thinking, maybe I really didn't or something. It's crazy. That's what made me so mad. But the wine probably didn't help. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your current situation, because this is in December, which is just a few months ago. It's April, right? Yeah. And so you eventually left that house. And where'd you go?
To my friend Sean's. And I left in probably a way I shouldn't have. So, like I said, pretty much everything in the house was ransacked. All the valuables and anything of significance was gone, right? And upstairs in Charlie's room, I knew he had a safe in there. And I hadn't looked in that safe yet. I went up there while I was at the house, and I looked in there. Everything in the room was basically gone, ran through, whatever. But in the safe was a key, and it was the key to his 4Runner, Charlie's 4Runner. Granted, I don't have a license, but I didn't care. I felt like Charlie would have wanted me to take the 4Runner, you know? He's gone. I know Charlie. I know Charlie better than any of them think they know him. And that's another thing that's just... My brother's sitting there because somebody stole a car in the neighbor's car, rammed into Charlie's 4Runner, so the tail or the bumper was hanging off, right? My brother's like, oh man, can you believe it? I can't believe somebody hit Dad's car. And I just kind of... Like, I've never called Charlie Dad. He's Charlie. He was more of a dad to me in a lot of ways. I mean, not than, I guess, my real dad, but like equal, like at least in raising me, he was definitely a dad to me. And I never called him Dad. Aiden was never raised by him at all. He didn't, you know, have a really strong bond with him, I don't feel like at all. And he was standing there calling him Dad. He's never said that before. So I think that's part of the legal part of it. Because in the eyes of the law, like if, you know, I don't know. It's my friend was explaining it to me. If you make the fucking courts think that that's your real dad, you don't have to mention he's your stepdad. You can just keep saying Dad. He's like, from now on, you say Dad. He's like, and my buddy, he knows a little about the law, and he was telling me that's why my brother was talking like that. It's because my uncle probably advised him to talk like that.
Yeah, interesting. But you
Anyway.
took the 4Runner.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry. Back to that.
That's all right.
I keep veering off.
That's okay.
I don't talk to anybody about really this, so it's kind of good to get it off my chest.
Yeah, I mean, all the stuff's stirring in you, man.
So yeah, I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. It's like it's part of your story and what you're going through currently.
Yeah. So anyway, I take the 4Runner, drive down to Ballard, just hang out with my friends, you know, and fix the bumper on the back, patched it up, made it look like it almost didn't happen. And then I'm sitting there, right there, in that parking spot, in the 4Runner, sleeping. And the cops came.
Because this became now your shelter.
Yeah, you know.
You're living in the car.
Yeah, I only had it for like maybe 4 days or
Okay.
something. And so, yeah, my friend's RV was right there, and I was parked right there, just sleeping in the car. I just cleaned it out and, you know, just sleeping. Cops come knocking on the window, yelling at me, turn on the siren because I was asleep. I didn't hear them. And so, yeah, I'm like, oh, shit. All right. Open the door, and it's weird because as soon as they pulled me out, they Mirandaized me, like before they even had cuffs on me, which is strange. They don't normally do that. That's really fast. They'll usually wait till you're in the car or till you're on the bumper at least. And then start asking me questions right away. And it's like, I got nothing to hide. I don't care. I'm not trying to break any laws, really. I was just trying to take my stepdad's truck for a drive. He's no longer with us. And I feel like he would have wanted me to. He wouldn't have cared if I did. He's not around anymore. Like, whatever, dude.
But obviously,
he knows I wasn't trying to destroy it or sell it or do anything like that.
Right, but obviously somebody called it in.
Yep, and so my uncle or my brother, I'm not sure, I think
Gotcha.
it's my uncle. And so they're like, this car's been reported stolen, blah, blah, blah. Why do you have it? It's like, it's my stepdad's car. I have the key, came out of his safe in his room in the house I lived in, and like, it's on my ID, all that. And they didn't seem to really care about that. Put me in the back. Sergeant's talking to me. He's like, this car doesn't belong to you, blah, 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 blah. Your uncle Mike called it in, yada yada yada. And I was like, well, tell me why it's okay for him to report this car stolen as if it's his property. It's definitely not his property. He was like, well, it would make sense that it would go to him, you know, it's his brother or whatever, right? I was like, it's his brother-in-law. It's his brother through my mother's side, like my mother's sister's husband. So why would it make any sense that anything that was left by him would go to my uncle before it would go to me or my brother, you know, or one of Charlie's blood relatives maybe? And the sergeant like kind of stopped for a second. He's like, well, I'll be right back. He goes, probably called my uncle, who by the way is an ex-federal defense attorney, and apparently ran drug court for like 5 or 10 years. I don't really know, but he's got a lot of pull in the legal department, in the court system, and the police department, I'm assuming, because all it took was that cop talking to him for a second, came right back. It's like, I don't got nothing else to say to you. I don't want to hear anything more from you. Just take me to jail. And so they booked me on it. My charges were theft. Everything had domestic violence attached to it, too. So burglary, domestic violence, theft, domestic violence, possession of stolen vehicle, and I think that was it. Might have been taking motor vehicle as well. but all the charges were dropped. The judge, even the prosecutor was talking to him about it, and the judge is wondering where these allegations came from, that it was me that stole the car. And they had known about a gun that my stepdad gave me. Like, they instantly asked me about that. I didn't have it. I'm not stupid. And, like, I don't have my gun rights back. I could get them back, but I haven't. And so anyway, like, it was just crazy to me that he was able to have that much pull with the police to just come and arrest me in a car that's not owned by him. They really should have had no right to arrest me, or only thing they could charge me with is driving without a license, which I wasn't driving either. So it's like, it's crazy to me. And so anyway, I go to jail, get out like 3 days later, charges all get dropped, or they didn't file, or whatever you want to say. They didn't find probable cause. And so, yeah, now after that, make my way back to Ballard, and I'm as you see me now, basically.
So this was this the first time? I have no place to go. I have no home.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
I'm homeless.
Ever since, yeah. This is the first time I've had to put up a tent.
Mm-hmm.
I've couch surfed in the past. Done that little thing when I was younger. But ever since I moved in with my mom and stepdad, had my first girlfriend and moved into an apartment, I've had my own place, or I was staying with them in between getting my own place. And me and Jenna have had our own apartments since we've been together, and we kind of had a little bit of a falling out, and so we kind of moved to Cleellum, which is, I did not like that. That was terrible for me, and that's a whole nother story. I won't get into that, but we were staying in her dad's RV, and then it just went from bad to worse. So then I made the decision to leave, and my mom had just died, and Charlie died. So it's just like, but when I left, Charlie was still alive. But yeah. So anyway, when I left there, Jenna's in Cleellum, I had a place to stay, which was Charlie's house.
Right.
That's where I was staying.
Right.
And only reason I left and was just to get some air, because it was every night for I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks of just drinking with him and crying every night about my mom. Him telling me, I know everything about the estate. Like, I know how much money he has. I know what he wanted to do with it. He told me several times. He's like, you and your brother are going to get half and half. He's like, I promise you, that's what's going to happen. My family's telling me they didn't find a will. Charlie documented everything. There has to be a will somewhere. It makes no sense to me he wouldn't have one, unless he was just too, caught up with my mom dying. Maybe he didn't do it. But he sure as hell knew what he was going to do with everything.
Right.
And it's just, it's so much for me to just try to even think about. It just wrecks me every time I actually do.
Yeah, it's messy. It's so messy.
Yeah.
Connor, is there anything, with your situation here, and it's been, how long have you been unhoused?
So, let's see. So, I mean, technically you could say since, like the day after Thanksgiving.
Okay, yeah, so it's like 5-6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then all this stuff happened in December, around December.
Yeah, the whole ordeal with with Charlie dying, and yeah, Charlie died the day after my birthday, so the 24th, day before Christmas.
Because we met under Ballard Bridge. You guys were getting swept this last Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah. Connor, is there anything that you'd want to say to the people of Seattle?
Yeah, I mean, maybe don't always judge the homeless people you see on the street by just the, what you see, take at face value. Like, people all have stories. There's reasons why we're all out here. Everybody has a reason. Some might not be as relatable as others, but everyone has their reason why they're out here. Like, you shouldn't hate people just because they're homeless and they bother you to see them or smell them. Or just, I get the crime thing. I mean, there's a lot of crime going on, but people that aren't homeless do those crimes too. You can't just pin it on the homeless people for everything.
Yeah.
And I see that out here in Ballard, homeless people get a really bad rap, and everywhere in Seattle, really. But yeah, just try to have a heart a little bit. Try to maybe think that probably a really good reason why they're struggling so hard and living so rough. I don't think anybody wants to be out here like that. So,
thanks, man. Appreciate you sharing
Sorry for being so long-winded, though.
It's totally fine. Don't be sorry. It's good to hear your voice, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad you
Appreciate
got it out.
Yeah.
Grab that little mic.
Mm-hmm.